Well, good afternoon. I couldn't be more excited to be sitting here with Andrej Juriga from Slovakia. Andre and I met, I don't know, 18, 24 months ago in Santa Fe, New Mexico at a conference. And I was impressed with him when I met him. I've become more impressed with Andre as I've gotten to know him. And I could not be more excited for the fact that Andre will be joining us in Lecce, Italy in June for the Cultural Global Labs event that I've been sharing with all of you. Andre, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Tell everybody a little bit about your background.
Kirk, thank you very much for having me. Very excited working with you and Antim and all the other facilitators and our participants in June in Lecce, Southern Italy. So who I am, well, a little bit about my background. So by education, I did my master in teaching and psychology, and I also did what we call human sciences. So I focus on studying the culture and linguistics of Spanish-speaking countries. So that was everything which has something to do with the culture, literature, history, and linguistics of South America and Spain. And I did the same for German-speaking countries, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So that's what I studied. However, when I graduated, I decided to pursue corporate careers. So I spent 14 years working in multinational IT giants. Half of my corporate career was in sales. So I remember my very first job when I graduated was sales agent, sales representative for German-speaking customers. So for me, that was kind of the very first professional interaction with people from different culture. And I realized pretty soon that those clients from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, they were different. They behave differently. They communicated in a very different way than I was used to, and that was natural to me. So I quickly realized that if I want to meet my monthly sales quota, sales targets, I will need to be able to step out of my comfort zone and look for ways how to flex my behavior and adjust to my clients. And then I went through different positions within sales organizations, made it to sales leader for consumer business unit in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And that was pretty large scope because at that time, my organization had around 100 people, salespeople, based across 3 different locations. So that was a big challenge because you have this target in front of you, which was about like 60, 70 million of US dollars every year that you need to generate with your a very diverse team, and you are just looking for ways, how am I going to do this happen? So, and now being a sales leader for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, I was a member of the leadership team for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So that gave me a great opportunity to interact with my counterparts from India, from China, from Morocco, from UK, from various European countries. And all of a sudden, I was exposed to different leadership styles. I saw different time approaches. I saw different ways of delivering feedbacks and so on. So that was really great international experience. And then after years in sales, I decided to shift my career, and I moved from sales to HR, and I became HR business partner for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, which was really a global role because I was supporting managers who were located all around the world, literally, and they were remotely leading people based in Slovakia. So early morning, I would start having video conferences with managers in Australia or China or Japan, India, who were leading those people in Slovakia, and they were having certain struggles and they needed some help. And during the day, I would talk to our European managers, and by the end of the day, we would address the challenges of our managers based in the United States or South America or Canada. So it was really an amazing role, which gave me great global exposure to all those cultural differences. And then I had relocated as HR business partner to Morocco. So for a couple of years, I worked in Casablanca, which gave me which added another level to my cross-cultural experience, learning and building a little bit of more awareness of culture of certain African countries. And then when I moved back to Slovakia, I became HR manager at IBM, supporting our 5,000 employees from all around the world. And when I moved back to Slovakia, I was invited a couple of times as a guest speaker to talk at HR conferences about what does it take if you want to succeed while working across differences. And I was for many years, I was passionate about the topic of cultural differences and so on. And so I was trying to bring this topic to the audience in Central Europe. And I was very curious about how would they react to topics such as diversity and inclusion, intercultural skills, cultural intelligence. And the response was massive. They were looking after me saying like, Andrej, you are talking about those issues we are really having in our organizations, and we need some help with this. And at that time, I couldn't really help because I was employed by IBM, but I did my research if there was really no one in the market in Central Europe who would be ready to help developing these skills we need when we work across cultures. And I found out that there is really huge demand on the market, yet the offer was rather limited. So that's how I decided to enter the field of intercultural world and diversity and inclusion.
And then I met you not too long ago in Santa Fe. And what fascinates me about you, Andrej, is that sometimes when there is feedback from outside the multicultural diversity and inclusion world, that feedback is sometimes critical to the point of saying, this is mostly theoretical, this is kind of woo-woo stuff, this is feel-good stuff, and that's all great, but we're a bottom line driven company and we got to have results. And your entire experience prior to starting Cultural Bridge, your own endeavor now to be a consultant and a facilitator to organizations and leaders about the necessity and the value proposition of having this training, having this background. But your entire experience prior to that was in the real world, in a bottom line, results driven organization or organizations. And that's one of the things that I really want to make sure we drive home about our event in Lecce in Italy, is that the net benefit of putting more tools in your tool bag in the areas of diversity and inclusion, multiculturalism, leadership development is partially that you'll be a better human. That's great, and that's important, and I think we obviously in our world today, we need a lot of that. However, there is a direct impact on bottom line results for any organization, regardless of how you measure, because you create an environment where people are more engaged, more committed, more they feel more valued and supportive, and that has a direct impact on bottom line. And I'm so excited to have you share from your background to that end. And that maybe dovetails right into the message you're going to bring to us in Lecce. Can you talk a little bit about, who is it for? What is it for?
Yeah, absolutely, Kirk. And so this workshop is about culturally intelligent leadership, and it has been primarily designed for managers, leaders who are leading their teams, departments, or whole organizations, and who are responsible for culturally diverse teams. And it also a good workshop for project managers who are leading project teams, having project team members spread across locations. And when I say culturally diverse teams, I don't necessarily mean people sitting in different locations. It could be easily a team sitting in one room in one location, and they are coming from different cultures or countries, or it can be a team of 10 US Americans or 10 Slovakians, and yet they are having different cultural backgrounds. So now when we talk about the role of a manager, of a leader in professional context, we know how wide their agenda and huge their responsibility is. They need to focus on delivering on commitment. They need to focus on meeting the business expectation and achieving business goals. And at the same time, they are responsible for hiring new team members, evaluating their performance, and developing their talent further. So that's a huge scope for those managers. And I just want to make sure that they leave the workshop well equipped with certain tools and strategies, how to shift their attention from trying to deal with those cultural misunderstandings and misperceptions, miscommunication, and rather focus on really achieving their business expectation. Why cultural intelligence, or why culturally intelligent leadership? I think it was back in 2006 when the renowned business magazine, The Economist, they conducted a global survey and they asked business leaders from all around the world, from 70 different countries, what they think is the top business challenge of 21st century. Now, 90% of them, 90, they agreed that the top business challenge of this century for them is culturally intelligent leadership. So people from The Economist, they were surprised by the huge agreement, and they said, why culturally intelligent leadership? And they mentioned a couple of reasons, but the major reasons they mentioned was, well, many business organizations are operating globally nowadays. So we need leaders who are able to understand specific needs of our culturally diverse customers. It was reason one. Reason two was when they said, when a leader is culturally intelligent, it means they know how cultural intelligence reflects in people's behavior. So they are able to identify this behavior in some new job candidates. So they are able to attract culturally intelligent talent for their teams. Then the third reason they mentioned was that culturally intelligent managers feel comfortable managing diverse teams. And the fourth reason they mentioned, we need culturally intelligent leaders because we need them to adjust their leadership style given the level of diversity they have in their team. So that's why culturally intelligent leadership matters. So in this workshop, I will help our participants to enhance the four main areas or four main dimensions of cultural intelligence. We'll start with the emotional side of cultural intelligence, talking about how do we react emotionally when we are facing some cultural difference at workplace. Then we will be talking also about biases and how they come into the game when we are hiring new team members for our teams, how biases play a role when we are evaluating performance of our team members, and how biases impact the way we develop our talent. So that would be the emotional side. Then we focus on exploring and understanding the cultural differences in a way we communicate at workplace. So if I want to deliver a certain message, if I want to bring my message through, how do I do that? There are significant cultural differences. Me as a manager, if I need to give a team member a negative message, negative feedback, how do I do that it's well received and understood? We talk about what is the expectation from a manager across cultures. We talk about how to plan activities with team members from the cultural point of view. So we build awareness around what are those cultural reasons behind specific behaviors. And then the last piece would be about looking for strategies how to bridge those differences, because one thing is understanding those differences. Okay, so now I know that I have these 10 people in my team and I understand the reason behind their behavior, but what do I do now as a leader, as a manager? I need to find a way how to make it work, how to bridge those differences. So,
which is what powerfully takes it out of the theoretical and puts it right into the practical application.
Absolutely. And one of the most interesting thing in that workshop will be that during all those 3 days, we will be using certain technology, which I find a very inclusive technology because it helps really include every team member into conversation without them being too exposed to something that they are not used to. So I will be using that technology during 3 days so participants can get familiar with the tool, how it works, what it does, and then they will reflect how they can take it and use it in their context at their work.
You know, it's funny, Andre, we've been a global marketplace for decades now. But in fairness, decades ago, it was on a very macro level. It was companies like IBM or companies like Gold Star or Samsung or whatever. But now it's a global economy on a much more micro level. Much smaller companies, much smaller organizations it's critical to their success that they understand the interdependency they have on the global economy. And I'm so excited that you're going to be bringing this message to people who participate in Lecce. Again, HR managers, business leaders, Salesforce managers, anybody that's responsible for teams and organizations, bringing people together to achieve a common objective with empathy, understanding, and effective tools to actually execute at the market level.
Absolutely. And a couple of weeks ago, I just returned from Middle East, from Dubai, where I was delivering a workshop on diversity, inclusion, and cultural intelligence to an executive leadership team of a Japanese company operating in Middle East. And after that session, I got a feedback from some of the leaders who said, well, what you thought as this is excellent in the work that we do, and it's really helpful. But we realized that those strategies that we took away from the session, they are helping us very, very much, even in our private life. And that was phenomenal feedback because
Fantastic.
help people to improve their interaction with their closest family, with their spouses, partners, children, is brilliant. And then some other feedback I got from a team of talents at Lenovo. I've been doing some development programs for Lenovo for a couple of years, and recently I got a feedback from them, and they said, after this session on cultural intelligence, we feel so much peace when we are sitting in the meeting with all those foreign managers, clients, and partners or colleagues. We feel so much more comfortable, because before it was all about, oh my God, look at them, how they behave. This is so unprofessional. They have something against me. So it was all about misunderstandings. And now they understand, okay, there might be something. There must be something else, or could be something else. So they feel a little bit more at ease when being exposed to all those differences. So to me, that would be the main goal for this workshop. So people who attend this workshop, they do feel inner peace when they work across cultures, across differences. They do feel comfortable and brave enough to get exposed and be sure that they can succeed when working across differences.
Well, I think you kind of just answered my last question, which was to be what impact do you hope to have on the people who attend this conference? So let me modify my last question a little bit. You can certainly answer that one too, but the work that you do with Cultural Bridge and the work that you do with all these different organizations, briefly summarize what you want the impact of your life to be, your life's work to be on the people that you interact with.
Yeah, Kirk, when you look around, we see a lot of fear around us. We have political leaders, we have opinion leaders who keep telling us and try to convince us that we have to be afraid of everything and everyone who is different, unfamiliar, unknown. We are building walls around us. And I'm not saying that those walls never helped. I don't want to argue that. And I mean, this is way too complex topic for our short interview. But I don't want to be safe because I'm surrounded by walls. I want to feel safe and comfortable because I am well equipped with certain skills that gives me the courage to get there, out there, and interact with people who are different than me. So that's what I look for doing the work that I do.
I can't think of some